Hello, how are you? My name is Sue Ems and I'm the course tutor. So a big hello. It's really nice to be here talking to you. I just wanted to say a few things about the assessment and make some other points that are relevant to the topics that we're discussing in this block of the course. Our focus is on the principles of writing fiction, and there's quite a lot of different things to think about. Sometimes they can start to feel a bit overwhelming, just because it's sort of like thinking about the different concepts and the different elements of writing fiction and all the other things that are listed in the course notes. So I'm not going to repeat anything of that here because I hope that is covered sufficiently in the notes for you. But if you do read through anything, well, that doesn't make any sense to me, well, please get hold of me. I'm always happy to talk about the craft of writing, to discuss how it is applied in your own circumstances, and if you see things differently, well, let's have a chat, because you might have some fantastic, innovative way of working that will benefit all of us. And I mean that quite honestly. There's something quite amazing about creativity, and there are principles that will enable us to use that creativity, but people make creative leaps and do things differently, and that can often be very exciting. So, hello. Right, back onto my point. I've just sidetracked myself, which I'm very bad at doing. I just wanted to say, basically, often when we come into a course like this, there are three main things to consider. There is the story ideas that we have, and there's the dream that we have, that we want to share, the kind of what we want to actually get down on paper. Then there are the principles that we discuss and we give you that will say, this is how you can make the most of that idea and how you can get it on paper. And then the third part is marrying those two things. And sometimes there can be quite a big gap between getting what's in our head, getting hold of the principles, and putting them all together on paper. And that's only because there's a lot of things to think about. So one of the first things I just really want to encourage you with is don't get hung up trying to do it all at once. One of the reasons we have an exercise in the assessment is to help you focus up on one thing at a time. And that can be really important because, apart from the fact that, looking at one particular aspect of writing is a good way of focusing on it and learning it, and learning how to use it or make it work for you, the fact of the matter is writing is made up a lot of little things, and each individual thing, often when we look at it by itself, can be quite easy to master. But when we start talking about putting 10 or 20 of them together, whether that's the practical things like where to put the comma in your sentences, to how to best describe a character, or how to move a plot forward, or just whatever it is, marrying all those things together and weaving them together to create something very satisfying can be very difficult. So here I am, blithering on, as I say. I get sidetracked, sorry. Just because I'd like to encourage you, first of all, don't worry about it if there seems to be gaps, if you seem to sort of have a piece of rope and you tie it together and in the ends fall apart and all of that. It's all part of the process, and it really doesn't matter. As long as you keep working on it, as long as you keep thinking about those principles and using them, then eventually it will all come together and you'll be able to use them seamlessly. So the first part of the assessment, you are asked to write an exercise, and that's because of those reasons I've talked about. It's because it helps you to focus on one thing. It helps you just to forget about everything else. You don't have to think of a story idea. You don't have to make all the elements work. You just have to think about one particular element of the writing craft or the writing process. So I recommend you choose something that appeals to you for whatever reason, and then just enjoy it. If you pick the 100 one-word story, then just have fun trying to find single words that will do the job where you might normally use multi-syllable words. And there's nothing to say you can't go and use a familiar storyline and make it work, because the point of the exercise is focusing on the words that you use. When it comes to the reflection, which is something that some people do kind of grumble about, I suppose is the word I'm looking for, enjoy that process as well, because what it does is it helps you to think about the principles and what they mean. It's very easy just to read quickly and think, yep, got that, yep, that makes sense. But when you stop and you think, well, what is this really saying, and what does it mean to me, and how in fact will it affect me? Will I do something differently because of this? Will I go back a few steps, or take a giant leap forward, or go into an entirely different direction altogether? So, reflecting and thinking about things is actually a way of you making those principles relevant to you. So just explore your feelings and express them down. No one's going to see what you write except me, unless you choose to share it on the forum with other people. So that's the first two parts of the assessment. Enjoy them. They're all about playing and exploring in the first part, and the second part is really just about thinking about yourself and what you want. Do sort of attempt to write them in a way that is nicely constructed to enter readability. I'm a big fan of always striving to write well, and because it's just good practice. I always say that writers should be so in the zone of writing well that they never use text speak or anything. That's just one of my things. Secondly, do present it well. I encourage the practice of professional presentation because that's important in the industry. And I'm just going to stop this little video here. It's about 6 minutes long, which is quite long enough to listen to me rabbit on. But I've made a second video in which I talk specifically about using the writing principles and applying them into your own ideas to create stories.